Welcome back in one of my service videos. This time I am repairing Seiko 7T34-6A00 Quartz Chronograph. The watch came in with a couple of problems, one of which being the fact that the base plate has a broken pillar, and the broken pillar is the one that holds in place the yoke. So basically when you pull out the alarm crown, that is the smaller second crown at 4 o'clock, it won't stay in place, or it won't click. It doesn't have anything to load onto. So the alarm function doesn't basically work, and you're not able to properly set the hour, the alarm time or the dual time hour. This is the base plate in question. It's not the watch that you're seeing. This is the replacement watch, and this is the base plate in question. And if the camera will focus, I have to go a bit wide. There you go. So the pillar that broke off is here. You can see this small darker triangle. That's the spot exactly where the pillar was and broke off. So this is the pillar. This is the yoke area. So this U-shaped embossing here on the plate is where the yoke goes. This is the main crown. This is the alarm crown, and the yoke forces exactly on this triangular pillar. It is a common fault on this 7T34s. I found it already several times, and I found it also on some 7T36 models, the one with the moon face, but it's very seldom that I'm finding on a 7T32 models. I already disassembled the watch. As you can see, this is a broken plate that came with it, and I'm swapping it with a normal one. Another 7T34 movement that I had, and this is exactly what I meant. You see the yoke? This is the yoke, and here is the pillar. As you can see it holds the U-shaped part of the yoke in tension, and it regulates also. The yoke has two parts, two functions. It holds in place. Oops. It holds in place the main crown, this one, and also the alarm dual time crown, this one. Sorry, I'm moving. I'm holding it in the mid-air, and for me it's quite upside down. I'm trying to look at the monitor of the video camera while I do this, so it's a pretty hard thing to do. So it's going to be a little bit shaky, but you can see that how the yoke hits this pillar and in turn builds up tension. I'm trying to not lose the focus as I move in. There you go, that's the max I can go. So even if I could like everybody else would, swap the movement, the working movement, with the broken one. I will go the hard and longer way and just swap this base plate because I want to keep the watch as original as possible. And it's going to take a little bit of work and time, but this also gives me the chance to check all the other components in the Just Right watch, so that I'm 100% sure that all the components are okay. And that was the only fault. Actually, that was not the only fault. I noticed immediately while disassembling the watch that the PCB, which is the electrical circuit plate, had some signs of corrosion, very small signs. This is the PCB that I'm talking about. Just let me grab it so that you can see, and that's the ICU. As you see, there are some traces of grease on the ICU itself. This should not be the problem, but if you see in this part, there is some sign of corrosion, and the trace that goes under the battery, this is the flappy square thingy, wing, let's call it a wing of the PCB that goes under the battery, has lost some of its copper tracing. This actually should not be a problem. I am not really sure if that is a problem or not, but I see bigger problems here on the side of it. Sorry that I'm wobbling my hand in mid-air. Here there is something attached to the copper trace that I will have to scrape out, and most importantly I have to check that there is continuity on that very, very, very small trace over there, which seems to have broken. If that is so, this is a busted PCB circuit, because I am not able to do some micro soldering and restore that piece, which is gonna be a problem, because then I have to buy another PCB, since the replacement watch does have a busted PCB that I know of. You have to see. So the coils of the watch are all working perfectly, at least, and I see no other trace of rust or any other issue in the watch, so at least we're fine with that. So I am putting all the pieces of the new watch in a box so that it doesn't get dust. And this is it, basically. I will transfer all the good new pieces to a small plastic container as well. So as I said, I checked already disassembling the watch. This is how I noticed that the base plate was damaged, was broken. I already disassembled the watch and checked the components. The plastic components this watch is made of are all in good condition, so that's not an issue. The metal components are also in good condition, but I noticed they're a little bit magnetized, so I will have to demagnetize them. And let's see, and obviously clean everything thoroughly, so before I reassemble everything, and oil it properly. So this is also another reason why I do this thing. I don't swap an old movement, an old damaged movement with an old working movement that has not been serviced already. This watch had this one was not serviced at all, even though it's quite clean. I just took it from a very bad looking watch, and I was hoping that the pillar in question was still intact, which it is. So now I am removing all the parts from this sacrificial moment, and then I will swap the plate, basically putting on top of the base plate the parts after cleaning of the new watch. So here we go. I will open the manual. On the computer behind the camera, so that I can see exactly what I'm doing, and I can tell during the disassembly the name of the parts and their part number for reference. So that was a rattling noise of my mouse. Okay, so let's start. Sorry for these pauses. They're not meant really to be. I'm doing this live. I'm not editing the videos at all. Sorry for this. So probably you'll hear noises, and that's my chair, for example, which is a little bit noisy. And you will see pauses during the disassembly because I need to scroll down on the manual, on the service manual, sometimes, just to be sure. Okay, so let's start. So to get to this point, you have to remove the battery clamp screws and the battery clamp, and of course the battery. Then you have to remove the circuit block cover and the friction spring for second counting. Then you remove the circuit block, which is the electrical part of the watch. Then the buzzer lead terminal, the battery connection, and the pins for train wheel bridge, which are the two white plastic screws that goes on top of the train wheel bridge. Then you remove the train wheel bridge, and you are presented with the open movement as you see it now on your monitor. The next step is the second counting wheel, which is in the middle. It's this one. You just take it and carefully remove it. Then the small second wheel. Then the spacer for the center wheel and pinion. This is a little bit tricky because I usually do it at the end because it just stays there, there's nothing on top of it. But since I'm following the manual, you need a very small piece of rodico on a tip, with a tip point, and then you remove it. Then you have the fourth wheel and pinion. Then the third wheel and pinion. Then the fifth wheel and pinion. I prefer getting the plastic parts with a piece of rodico so I don't damage the pinions of these wheels. Then the first intermediate wheel for second counting, sorry. Then the second intermediate wheel for second counting. The minute wheel. The setting wheel. The intermediate minute counting wheel. This should be here. Okay, I made a little bit of confusion. It doesn't matter about the names, because the first intermediate wheel for second counting and the second intermediate wheel for second counting are this ones that I'm removing now. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Now the minute counting wheel. Intermediate alarm wheel, yeah, it's this ones that I removed right now. The intermediate alarm wheel and the centimeter wheel for alarm, these are the ones that I remove right now. While we're assembling it, you will see that I'll properly name all the parts. So I got mixed up with this and these, basically. This too. But anyway, so now the minute wheel for alarm. Now the intermediate alarm wheel. The center minute wheel for alarm. The minute wheel for alarm. And the setting wheel for alarm. Cool. Now you have to remove the step rotors. I have to find a better place where to put the step rotors, since they're magnetic and I don't want them to further magnetize the parts. So just wait a second, please. I have to find a proper plastic container that holds only plastic parts. There is something similar. which leads me to say that I need more plastic containers. So splitters are also a bit of a problem. Because they tend to stick, obviously, to all metal parts. Do as I say, don't do as I do, as usual. They stick to the tweezers, so I tend not to take them to the tweezers with the tweezers, but with a piece of Rodico, and then I gently pull them off with my hand. After the step rotors, I have to remove the coil blocks. As I said, I already checked these coil blocks. They are working perfectly fine. After the coil blocks, I need to remove the switch lever A, which is this one. Then the setting lever for alarm. The setting lever. Which is always a pain because, let me turn this so you get a better view, because it hits the yoke, so I have to move a bit the yoke and then let it go. Then the clutch wheel for alarm. To do that, I need to remove the alarm wind system. And the clutch wheel for alarm is this very tiny piece. Then I need to remove the main winding stem and crown. Then I can remove the yoke. Since the yoke is held in place by a small pillar, I need to be careful when to remove it, otherwise it jumps off. And then the clutch wheel, there you go. Now the train wheel setting lever, and now the rotor stators, which are this 4 pieces here. One, two, three, 4. And then finally the switch levers C and B, which are the golden levers here. The center wheel and pinion. And then you have the main plate, as you can see it right there. Now goes the other side. Which is the dial side. Which is tricky, but it has way fewer parts. So I need a proper movement holder. I've said it many times, but I never got hold of one. Too much to do. And too little time to dedicate to watches. So the first thing you do is, which I should have done, is to release this pin for date star guard, and then I can remove the date star guard. I'll just keep the pin over there. Then I can remove the date jumper. The date star. Date driving wheel. This is another part that usually gets damaged, and I will show you how. As you can see, the driving wheel has a cut here. So on one of the teeth has a shit. Okay, I got it on top of the table. Okay, so as I was saying, one of the teeth, and this in particular, or that one, has a prolonged tip. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe if I turn it the other way around. Because of the shadow on the lights, you can see it better. Okay. Okay, so you can see that one. So that tip is the tip that grabs on the date star and rotates it. What happens is that, as you can see, the cut on exactly in that region, that side, the last three teeth act like a spring-loaded mechanism, security mechanism. So when you turn backwards the date setting to adjust your date, it actually doesn't break the tip off, keeping the all the other parts in place. It doesn't force, and it just moves inwards like a spring-loaded lever. And since it's plastic and And many people try to set the date at the wrong time, which is run about from 10 o'clock in the evening to 3 o'clock in the morning. This whole part, this lever, so to speak, tends to break off, or just to bend too much inward, or the tips break off. So that is a part that gets damaged frequently. Another part that gets damaged frequently is the hour wheel, which is the gray wheel here, because that has some leaves that get, while they turn, they get inserted into the teeth of the driving wheel, as you saw. So let me show you this thing a little bit better. So basically what happens is when you turn the date, the leaves on the hour wheel get inside the teeth of the date driving wheel, and that prolonged tip, that longer tip, is just made so that it will get inside the leaves of the hour wheel without damaging or without reflecting. It's just the leaves are so formed that the tip has just enough space to do that. Okay, so usually it will turn like this. What happens is when you set the date at that nightly hours that I mentioned before, from around about 10 o'clock in the evening to 3 o'clock in the morning, basically all the other components make that the hour wheel just goes against another wheel that is here and tends to force the tiny teeth of the hour wheel against the other wheel, and this basically bends them or breaks them, because this is so fragile and they are so thin that they bend very, very easily. You can see from here. I mean, as you can see, this is still intact. So this is good to go. Oh. Lastly, the last part is the hour wheel for alarm. And there you have it. A clean, naked faceplate. Great. So this was the first part of the video where I show how I disassemble and reassemble a 7T34-6A00 or 00, as you may call it, movement and watch with a broken pillar on the base plate. Stay tuned for the second part, which will be uploaded later today. Goodbye. Oh, I forget always to say, if you like the video, you can like it with a thumbs up, or if you dislike it, if you really have to, just put a thumbs down. I cannot, I have to put it wider, so put a thumbs down, but please put a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you still didn't do it, and all my videos are open for comments. I reply to all the comments, so if you have any questions, comments, or critics, just write them down, but please be polite. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.